It's my pleasure to introduce violinist Anthea Kreston, who is not only a concert artist, but who teaches also on all levels, starting from young children up to college students. She also writes. Her weekly blog on Slipdisc was one of the top 5 most read um, music blogs internationally. And she is the founder of the Inside Music Academy, a virtual music school. She recently returned to the United States after 4 years in Berlin, where she was a member of the internationally renowned Artemis String Quartet, and where she was also a professor at the Universität der Künste Berlin. She was also a master teacher at the Queen Elizabeth Chapel in Brussels, and she returns to the Curtis Institute of Music, where she teaches and mentors some wonderful young musicians. Today, she will present about a healthy approach to audition preparations, and she will walk us through the process of helping students to get the most out of these experiences. Please welcome with me Anthea Kreston.
Hi, Yumi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see everybody. Is everybody?
I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited. This has been so much fun to think about and just kind of put everything all in one place. All these different ideas always swirl around with competition preparation, or making sure kids are feeling comfortable, or is it the right time for them to do a competition. And of course, I'm also the mom of two. I got two musicians, a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. So we haven't done competitions yet. I don't know if we will, but it's certainly something I think about for them, whether that's something we want to be doing. Is everybody a pianist here? Is this what's going on? Do we have a room full of pianists? We do?
Most of them, yes.
My mom, well, I'm from Chicago. My mom I live in Oregon now. My mom ran the Chicago Youth Symphonies for 18 years, Jeanette Kreston, and she's a pianist. And I grew up studying with the Vamoses and Betty Haig before that at the Music Institute. And my mom taught in the living room piano. And she's also kind of a really terrible violinist also. She went to Northwestern for piano and double English and piano major. And before she worked at the Chicago Youth Symphony, she started the Chicago Children's Museum with 2 of her old sorority sisters from Northwestern. And at the time, there were only 2 children's museums in existence in the country. It wasn't a thing. It really wasn't a thing. And so it was 2 of her. What is the music sorority? She's still friends. She was in the music sorority. What's that called? I don't know. You guys know what that is?
You mean Sigma Alpha Iota? SAI?
Yeah.
Sigma Alpha Iota.
Yeah, so she was in Northwestern, and I remember they would always come over to our house for meetings and hang out, and then every Christmas we'd have a gigantic sing-along where all those sorority sisters, so every year growing up, those sorority sisters would come to our house. And then she wrote a grant when I was in kindergarten, I think. And so she got donated like a corner of an office space in the cultural center, and they said, okay, you can start a children's museum. And all she had was like just part of a little room, probably about the size of my teaching studio. And she just started that with her friends. And you guys know Chicago. The Children's Museum is just a legendary, amazing part of the culture there. So I kind of grew up with a mom who was always had her fingers in lots of different things. And I'm the youngest of 3. And she always encouraged us to do competitions. And we managed to do it in a pretty comfortable way, but it certainly set me up, and my 2 sisters are very successful musicians, set us up to be competitive as adults in a nice way. I have so many ideas. I have pages and pages of stuff I want to talk about. Oh no, too much stuff. What am I gonna do? And but I thought maybe we could start by and certainly everyone can chime in. We don't all have to be muted. It doesn't have to be like a one-sided thing. Does everyone know how to change their names? Like go up on the right part of your thing, and then you can rename yourself. Does everyone know how to do that? Okay, so let's go ahead, and if we're going to rename ourselves with an idea, I want to ask everyone what they think is a successful competition for a competitor, for a child. What does it mean to have a successful competition? And so I'm just going to chat in, but I'm not going to do chat. I'm going to just rename myself, and so everyone can do this. The process. So like that's what mine looks like. So for me, that would be a successful competition if the child or the student enjoyed the process. Music and mental progress. Great. Julie, are you typing in there? No? Elaine, that's my sister's name. Do you want to type in anything? Or you guys just unmute and say what you think. Let's just unmute and just say what we think. So Yumi, I said enjoy the process. Yumi said musical and mental progress. Julie, what do you think? What is a successful competition for a student? What do you think would be successful?
Well, one where the student learns something from.
Yes. Learning things like, how about learning people skills? How about learning how to deal with emotions? How about learning how to expand your mental skills? All these kinds of learning things. Not just learning the piece, but learning how to be a better person and be a better colleague, and to figure out how to stretch yourself. And let's talk a little bit about also what else matters. It's kind of an extension of that. What matters when you're preparing for a competition for a student? Learning how to present yourself to others. This is great. Elaine, are you going to talk to us? That's my sister's name. I want to hear what Elaine wants to say. Come on, Elaine.
I'm not a contest person. I'm just interested to see what you say. I guess the main thing I have to say is your student has to know that the contest is as good as the judges. And a lot of times, you don't put somebody in because you know that the judges are whatever.
You know what, Elaine, I like this. I like where you're going with this. In fact, that can segue into something else. Can I just throw out a couple of other things? And I love when I do, when I'm talking about competition, I mean auditioning for a job. I mean even preparing for a concert. Any of these for me are competitions. And it can mean auditioning for a university position, or it can mean anything. It's that the same process goes in. And Elaine, like what you're saying, when you audition for a university position. So these competitions for little kids, or for people my age even, we're all still doing competitions, right? When was the last time someone else competed for something, that you tried to do something where someone else was going to tell you yes or no? Has anyone been in a situation where someone could tell them no for something they wanted to do in the last couple of years? I have. That's a competition. When you can go in, you want to present yourself, and someone else has the ability to tell you yes or no. So that is a competition. And so we all have to deal with that, whether or not we're musicians or not. So getting focused. What I particularly love about competitions is how in shape I get. I'm like, it's like the difference between going to a gym to lose weight and going to a gym to get in shape, right? So I'm just getting in shape. So Elaine, you had an interesting thing here about the judges.
I only said that because Emilio Del Rosario said that to me once. He wasn't putting people in a certain competition. I said, how come you don't put people in that one? He said, oh, the judges are awful. So.
Okay. Now, Elaine, I want to talk about this now. Actually, I mean, I have a, okay.
Oh my goodness, so cute.
Oh, did you see my guinea pig? Should we look at my guinea pig? That's Susie. She's no longer with us, but she has a little coffee. She was sitting at a desk. She's no longer with us, but anyway, she's very cute. So here we go. Here are the 3 stages of competition. And again, like I mentioned, competition is any time when someone can say no or yes to something you've presented. Okay? Now, what Elaine's talking about, she's talking about C. She's talking about the results. She's talking about what's happened after you've prepared, after you've presented. And so Emilia Del Rosario said, don't go because the results suck. They're going to be stupid because the person who's telling you the results, they're idiots. So here's my point, and this is a point that I really talk to about with my students. And in fact, I had a student in tears yesterday over C, over what Emilia Del Rosario was talking about. For me, C doesn't matter. To me, I want to erase C. C does not exist in my mind, and it does not exist in the minds of my students, I hope. Of course it's there, but we try to do everything we can to erase it. So Elaine, we're going to come back to this. I made this last night at midnight, by the way. Thank you very much. After my daughters were asleep and everyone's lunches were packed. So here we go. Here's the A is the prep period. For me, this is where the most important work is done. This, for me, is what it's about. It's about focused practice. It's about intensity of your own personal desires. It has to be from you. We have to find a way. There's no point in doing a competition if the person doesn't want to better themselves or to have their own desires. What is their desire? It could be anything. It really could be anything. Slow work to achieve your goals. Stretching yourself and pride in improvement. For me, it's all about A. Does anyone have any comments about A, or can we talk about A a little bit? Elaine, what do you think about A?
Putting me on the spot.
I know it's because you're my sister.
I do that with all my students for everything that they do.
Exactly.
The problem is they're thinking about C.
I know. Okay, so we got to get over that, right? So we got to get over C.
Well, one thing that somebody spoke about at one meeting was some people like apples, some people like oranges, some people like plums. So when you play for people, maybe they're looking for an apple and you're more an orange.
Yeah.
So don't feel badly if you don't win. So the other thing is a lot of times there's a set list you have to use and it might not be right for that particular student. So those are problems with.
Yeah, and the set list is I talk about, I mean, I'm a violinist. So you get, if you're going to audition for concertmaster, it's like set list hell. It's like you just don't even want to be playing that stuff. Why am I even practicing this? What is my problem? I have problems with the A period if it's with orchestra music. Okay, B is the day of. Your work has already been done. Stay in the moment when you're playing. Remain calm. Anticipate that you will feel strange. A lot of times people go there. I remember my first competitions, and you probably do also. When you got there and there's some weird room and then you got to put on a name tag or like everyone's practicing and why does everyone sound so good and I sound so bad, and then somebody says something weird to me and freaks me out and I just want to vomit and hide in the bathroom. So just talk to your student about all the strange things that could happen and expect can't find the parking structure. Only brought one shoe. My sister went to a competition once and she forgot her violin. She had to play in someone else's violin. And then here, this relates, Elaine, just because I love your name. Don't hope. Don't think about this C. Don't hope. Just observe. You're observing how your work went. You're observing how all of this feels to you. You're just going to go and you're just going to present this stuff. Be gracious. Be gracious to the people who check you in. Be gracious if you have an accompanist. Be gracious to your mom. Be gracious to your colleagues. And if you ask me, honestly, if the competition ended before B, I would be happy. Sometimes I feel myself, or I have a student who did a great job with this prep period. And then they're like, you know, I just don't want to go. I just don't want to go. I'm like, you don't have to go. You did it already. You already did the competition. It's already done. If you want to go and test how it would go, if you want to go and just play, who cares? You can do that. But your competition is done after A. Here we go with the C problem. This part of the process is not our concern. It has nothing to do with us. If we start to believe what other people say or think about us, what was the whole point of all this? What was the point of our desires? And this goes in two different ways. If you believe when people tell you're excellent and good, you have to believe when they tell you you're terrible. Don't believe either one. You don't have to listen to either one. I would suggest not listening to either one, because your desires, your own goals, it's about you. Periods A and B are what matters the most. The results are beyond our control and are not the point of the competition. We cannot control other people's desires. We have to have learned to be true to ourselves in A, present our beliefs in B, and now our work is done. And we will learn equally whether we win or lose. In fact, the more you lose, probably the more successful you'll be, because the more you went out there. The more successful people are in life, the more they've lost. Go and lose and lose and lose and lose and lose and become stronger. I've lost so much stuff. You know, a crazy thing happened at the end of my time living in Berlin. So I was in the super famous string quartet. I was teaching at the best music school in Germany. I don't know, Yumi, if you think it's the best music school. What do you think is? I think it's the best music school. And on off weeks, I had a standing invitation to go and play in the Berlin Philharmonic. So that was really fun. So I would go and do that if I had a free week. It was a blast. Those guys are amazing. And then they're a very interesting orchestra. They needed a concertmaster. They had an opening for a concertmaster. And the way they work, they're completely democratic. And you can't really apply for it. What they do is they all unanimously, all the violins unanimously have to agree on who they're going to invite. So they emailed me and they said, would you be interested in this position? I said, well, yeah, I'd be interested in that. And then they said, okay, we'll just send your bio and your resume and stuff, and we'll let you know. And so I was one of 11 people that was invited unanimously by that orchestra to come and audition. And I'm an American woman. How crazy is that? So when I got the invitation, I was totally nervous. I don't know how to do that. And and I was like, I'm going to do this. I am going to do this thing. I'm going to do it. And I was already so busy, and I had 2 little girls. They were 5 and 7 years old. I was never home. I was playing concerts every night. And I started practicing. And I put my graph on the wall. I started practicing. Then I got up to 7 hours a day practicing. I don't even know how I did it with my graph. And I got so good. And I played for all of my colleagues at the university. I emailed every single violin teacher there, and I said, can I come have a lesson? Can you help me? Can I play? I played for people in the viola section of the Berlin Philharmonic who were my friends. Can you help me? Can you tell me what's going on? How I'm doing? Then comes the audition day, and I am just, I'm sounding really good, but you know, I'm a middle-aged mother of 2, and I'm really busy, and I just barely have time to just put my shoes on. So I go there, and they give me the conductor's suite, and it's so big. And I go in there, and I feel like my feet are filled with cement. Like I can't even I can't even move. I'm so frozen. And I call Jason, my husband. I'm like, I can't go out there. I can't go out there, because you go out to the big hall, and it is the entire violin section, and they are the judges. Everybody goes. The entire violin section of the Berlin Philharmonic. And Jason was like, Anthea, you don't have to go out there. You just walk out the door now. Look at how awesome you became. And look how you practice 7 hours a day. Look at all your graphs everywhere. Look at all those cool lessons you got. Look at all that repertoire you learned. You don't have to go out there. Just come home. We'll have some soup. And I did go out there, and they were lovely, and they were very supportive, and I did well, but they ended up picking, you know, a man who was in the orchestra, of course, which is what they do. But I did it. But I loved that call to Jason where he said, just come home, we'll just have some soup. And I guess I like to say that to my students. I like to say that. Can I ask everyone, I have so much stuff I want to talk about. Can I ask everybody, can I tell you all my different little subsections, and you can tell me what you guys want? You guys can text in or tell me. I'm going to tell you what I prepared. Ideas for preparation, how to handle nerves, the competition day, how to accept results. This is the C section. Elaine. Next steps after the results, and family perspective. How to handle nerves. Competition day. Okay. Susie. Family perspective. Okay, you guys are like everything. We like all the things. Okay. Well, competition day got there first. So let's look and see what I wrote down there. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we've all been also judges, probably. Can everyone raise their hand if they've been a judge at a competition? Okay. I know it seems silly. Can we not underestimate what they are wearing? Like, please think about what, like, so for the kids or for anyone, send me a picture. Text me a picture of what you're planning on wearing. I was just recently judging the Borciani competition in Italy for string quartets. And there was a quartet that came out, and they just looked like they were like going to the coffee shop or something, kind of like a frumpy, kind of like billowy sweater on the second violinist. Some people wearing brown. And I was just like, oh, these people, no, I don't even want to hear this. I don't even want to hear this. It's like, oh. So do not underestimate what you're going to wear. You don't want to be super, super fancy, but those kids need help and their parents have no idea. Their parents are going to like dress them up like the husband and wife on top of the wedding cake or something. You know what I'm saying? Do not underestimate that. And for what they're going to wear, have them come to their lesson wearing it. Practice playing in it. Okay? I have a very, 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 very funny story. Wait, can I tell you a funny story? You guys ready? This is about my mother-in-law, Norma. Okay, I'm going to have a little sip of refreshing beverage. Don't you love this picture of Brahms and how chubby he is? He can barely reach it. I love that. And his cigar. Apparently, he often had ashes in his beard. I like that. My students come and they're like, "You're not supposed to smoke." I'm like, that's true, but he's so cute. Okay, so Norma Wilson from Naperville. You know where it is. Naperville. Okay, so there she was. She was a senior in high school, violinist. And she was going to play the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto with her school orchestra as her final senior project. And she had just gotten her first pair of high heels because she was going to go to the prom. So she had her first pair of high heels. And she decided she's going to wear these for the Mendelssohn. It's a great time to try them out. She's going to put on those high heels. So she puts those on for the concert. And then she had a skirt, and her mom had gotten her a slip. But the slip was like hanging down below the skirt. So she decided what she's going to do. She's going to take the slip, and she's going to just roll it up a little bit. So it's kind of like a little higher, right? And her teacher, who is the conductor, is going to loan her his violin for the concert. So she's like, this is going to be great. This is just so exciting. So she goes out. She's a little wobbly on her high heels. And the orchestra goes, bum, bum, ba-dum. And she has to go, da-da-da-dum. She's a little nervous, a little wobbly. And by accident, she hooks her bow on the violin and sends it up into the air. Instead of going da-da-da-dum, there's like no sound. There's just like a kind of a crunching sound. And the violin goes flying up in the air. And the conductor, who's her teacher and whose violin it is like, and then the orchestra goes, so it goes dum, bum, ba-dum. No sound. And then he just brings the orchestra in again. Dum, bum, bum. And at that point, she's gotten her violin. She's got da-da-dum, 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 da-da-dum. And they're off. Da-da-dum, you know. She's playing along. All of a sudden, you know what she feels? Bonk. Her slip starting to unroll on one side. She's playing. She's playing. And then she feels it again. Bonk. She's rolled it up a bunch, right? So she's on those high heels. So she decides, okay, what she's going to do, she's going to start spreading her legs out so that she can brace her slip with her knees so it doesn't fall down too much underneath her skirt, but she's got the high heels on. And then, bonk. And then, so she starts spreading her legs farther and farther. And anyway, the point is she finished the concerto and she's basically in splits, but she's still standing. And she considers this, which is what I love about the story, an extremely successful story. She doesn't care about C. So other people might have seen someone coming out who could barely stand up on their high heels, who threw their violin up in the air and then ended the whole piece in splits with their skirt showing. as maybe not the most successful concert. But she carried about A, and she went to B. She didn't just stay in the conductor's dressing room. She went to B and she presented her ideas, and she felt successful. So anyway, she maybe should have worn that outfit to her teachers, to her lesson. That's what I'm saying. So that's what to wear. That's my first thing. Anyway, that took a little while for me to talk about. But anyway, check requirements for materials and prepare them a week in advance. Wait, are we talking about competition day? Yeah, we are. Okay. So I remember so many times my mom like, what? We have to have 3 copies of this? So make sure that they have all their stuff together. It's in an envelope. They're all ready the week before. Pack the night before, laying out your clothes. And how many times has this happened? You get lost on the way to the competition. You don't know where to park. You didn't realize you needed quarters or a credit card, or that on Saturdays you can't park there. Map out your trip, figure out where you're parking, bring a snack, bring water, bring an emergency PB&J, peanut butter and jelly. I never leave my house without an emergency peanut butter and jelly. You know, when I was in college and I was just starting to like get paid for concerts, I was studying with the Emerson Quartet. So I started actually making a living. And Phil Setzer, one of the violinists, he's like, Anthea, now we have to have the career talk. Here are 2 main pieces of advice. Number 1, when you're on tour, don't bother washing your underwear. Just buy new packs on the way. Because otherwise you're always going to be washing your underwear in the sink and it's never going to be dry and it's going to be this endless process. That's my first piece of advice. And then number 2, always bring an emergency peanut butter and jelly. You may not need it for years, but one day you're going to need that. And I would say that's probably the 2 best pieces of advice I ever got from a teacher. Okay, so bring a snack and bring some water. How many times has this happened? Can you send a copy of your notes? They're a little bit funny. Yeah, I can. They're really long. Pack emergency concert clothing. Just throw another set in the trunk. Do it the night before. You're going to get there and you're going to eat your peanut butter and jelly and you're going to drop it all over your white dress. You shouldn't be wearing a white dress. Don't do that. Don't eat your peanut butter and jelly before. Just you don't have to tell just tell that to the mom. Just throw extra clothes in the trunk. We already talked about this. Talk about the awkward waiting rooms, the strange practice rooms, and having to sit around and hear other people practice. Don't underestimate that. Talk about all the possible weird things that they're going to feel, because that's going to mess up. They did such a good job with the A. That's going to mess up their B. They should know about that. Here's a good one. What if someone says something unkind to you? And they might not even mean it. How many times has that happened to you guys when you went to an audition or applied for something? That someone said something. I even remember when I did my first competitions, like Society of American Musicians. Is that still going on? And I went and like I would be like 9 years old or whatever, and someone would be like, I really hope you practiced for this. And then I was like, oh my gosh, how much was I supposed to practice? Or something like that, right? So what if someone says something unkind to you? How are you going to react? Are you going to confront them? What are you going to do? And here's the final moment, which is stay to yourself in those moments. Tell everyone to just stay, and be kind to others. If they come up to you and they need to say something, you can let them say something. But I would talk to the students about how to handle those awkward situations, because so many times I hear from students how they got upset or freaked out before they had their chance to do their B. And all of those things are avoidable. and definitely we should talk through them. So that's my competition day segment. Does anyone have any comments? No. How to handle nerves. Yeah, Elaine.
Well, the one thing is, when you enter a competition, you have to be careful that if you win, you might have to do what you have to do if you've won. Let's say if you're in a concerto competition and you win, you have to realize you're going to have to play that concerto with with the orchestra, if that's what the competition is. So always be ready, just in case you win, and then there it is, right in your face, and you got to do it. So you got to consider that too. I mean, that happened to me once, and I was like, oh my God, I wasn't supposed to win. This is terrible. Now I got to go do this thing. And so you got to get yourself ready for all situations, I would say.
Absolutely. Elaine, actually that brings me, can segue into another thing that wasn't what I was going to talk about next, but I have students from all over the world, and I have a really terrific student from Chengdu, China, who I met when I was over there playing and teaching. I met him when he was 13. He's 16 now, and he studies at the Sichuan Conservatory, but his dad says his teacher is really, really old and just tells him to follow the indications. And so those are his lessons. Just follow so they come to me every week and we kind of learn how we can play spicier and all that kind of stuff. So something similar to that happened, Elaine. He was doing a competition that had 3 rounds, and he was very young for the competition, and he didn't think he would get to the second round. Got to the second round, and he had 2 weeks to learn the Isai Ballade, which is a very, very difficult unaccompanied piece. Very, very difficult. And so I was like, okay, Kevin, we're going to get your graph out. We're going to get it done. Tell me exactly how much time you have. We're going to do this. Dung, 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 dung. And every morning at 10 p.m. his time, 7 a.m. our time, he's going to click into my Zoom, and I'm going to have people there who are going to hear him play his Isai Ballade every single morning until that competition. And so I had some parents of students. Sometimes it was my mom. Sometimes it was some little student who was like 4 who was just like jumping on their bed. So I made my students wake up at 7, and I made his neighbors hear him at 10 p.m. And we did that every night. And guess what? He won that competition. He won that. And right now he's in the next round of the Tchaikovsky competition. He's also very, very young. And he's doing incredibly well. He's playing Sibelius Concerto, which he's not ready on. He's also not ready. He didn't think he was going to get to the next thing. And so now what I'm doing is I realized actually I had another student who's been chomping at the bit to play Sibelius, who's not quite ready. I have a college student. I have 2. So basically Kevin is 16. I have a 15-year-old who's been dying to play Sibelius. I have 2 19-year-olds who are great for Sibelius. So I put together something called Sibelius Boot Camp, but it's basically so that Kevin can get his poop together for the next round. And so what we did, which is kind of fun, is I don't know if you guys use Flipgrid. So I've put together a Sibelius Boot Camp with 5 students. And what I do, and I put in little tutorials here. I'm with a little guinea pig head, or here's a donut on my head. And so I put in a tutorial. Okay, this is how you're going to be able to be really good on your octaves. Think about your hand shape. Think about your shape. Okay, what about this kind of slide in the 6th? So here's Kevin. He's done it, but he also has Chris from New York, who's excited to play it. He also has Erica, who's a college student. He has Malaya, who's already been playing it a little bit. And so they all learn this all together, and then they comment on each other. And let's hear. And so this is a really fun way to prepare for competitions. It's very supportive. Everyone writes nice things. Let's hear, wait, I want to see. Let's hear Kevin play this thing. And you can see people have written comments down here. So we just had 6 measures, and that was one of their 4 things that they were supposed to do. So Erica says, sounds amazing, love your dynamics. Chris says, wow, great job, Kevin, sounding awesome. And this is me, this is so fun, I love the up bow to the octaves. And then let's see, and then Chris did the same thing. And then Kevin says, great vibrato, I love it. The little slide is just catching my... And then look, they get to write for each other. There's Kevin from China who feels like he knows Chris. Great vibrato. I love it. The little slide is just catching my heart. This just tore me into bits when I read this. That's a 16-year-old boy telling a 15-year-old boy something. I just can't believe it. Erica says, yay, such guts, so I love it. Yay, Chris, love the commitment. So that's a fun way to prepare for a competition. And I just put up a Brook boot camp. I have a bunch of other students who are ready for that. So that can be a fun way to prepare. Okay, wait, what am I supposed to be talking about now? Good question. Good question. Let's look back over here. I'm going to look in the chat. Oh, how to handle nerves? Should we do nerves? Okay, wait, I think I also have, see how I'm sharing my screen? See how I care about this presentation, Yumi? See how I do it? See how I do it? Okay, let's see. I had, okay. Here, I'm just going to read a small bit of one of my blogs that I was writing about nerves. It's just a small little part, but I'm going to share it so you can read along. When I walk out on stage, I am blinded by the light, by the oppressive feeling of hundreds of eyes and the constricting feeling of audience expectations. I try to make eye contact with members of the audience, but if the hall is too distant or dark, the light's too dark, this makes me feel even more on the spot. I am instantly in fight or flight mode, even though I do this all of the time, anticipate it, and try to rationalize myself out of it. It is simply something that happens on an animal level and which I must gain control over. My breath feels cold. I can't properly focus my eyes, and my brain is going simultaneously very fast and staying still. I plant my feet, get into position, and begin. The first movement of any concert is a time for me to calmly check on my basic body functions one at a time and to get each one under control. There are 4 main things I try to get under my belt before the second movement. These are realize who I am. This is back to A. This is our prep period. Who do I believe I am? Number 2, something is going to go wrong. Number 3, I know how to do this. And number 4, people are here to enjoy themselves. That's why they're there, even if it's in a competition. I'm like, wow, I can't believe how cool this is. I get to hear all these people play. As these things become integrated, I slowly begin to come out of myself and relax into the experience. If for some reason things begin to go wrong, I lock it down. I retreat into the keep of the castle. You know what that is? That's like in the castle, that really tall part. So if people attack you, you can go into that really, really tall part and you're going to be protected and no one can get you. And I perform with a surgical precision until all systems are up and running. I don't worry about if I'm musical. I'm just going to nail this thing. I'm just going to nail this. I know how to do this. I spent thousands of hours. I don't even care if I'm musical. And then when Jason sees me do that, if he comes and sees a concerto, I'm like, oh my God. Towards the end of the first movement, I was freaking out, and I was like, and he said, I can't tell. You just look like you're concentrating, and it's cool. I completely chill out for a half a page, and then one by one, I check my main systems, and when everything is safe, I return to normal. Oh, and I always do this. Also, I try to eat something really crunchy like a carrot or a pretzel before I go out on stage. Something that will stick in my teeth for a while. That way, if I feel like I want to do something other than what I'm doing at the moment, I can just work at trying to get some carrots out of my molars. And it works every time. Give it a try. So if I'm up there, I'm like, I don't want to be playing the Brahms violin concerto. I'm like, well, I'm just going to get this pretzel out of my tooth for a while and keep on playing. And then when I have it out of my tooth, then I can like return to what I'm doing. So that's my advice about nerves. Is that helpful? So there's nothing you can do about it. It's just gonna happen. Another thing that I really enjoy saying to myself before I go out or telling my students, when you go out, be like, wow, this is such great practice for my next competition. Wow, I'm just practicing for my next competition. I'm just practicing, just seeing how it feels, you know? And then that turns you back into the observing and not hoping for C, you know? You're just like, wow, this is what a competition feels like? Wow, interesting. Oh, my legs feel kind of wobbly. Maybe I shouldn't have worn my high heels. Okay, priorities with nerves. It's not about them. It's not about C. It's not about those people out there. It's about you, and it's about the composer. That's what it's about. It's about you and the composer. Self-forgiveness. Every time before I perform, I give myself 7 freebie mistakes. I'm like, I'm just going to biff it 7 times. I'm just going to do it. Just gonna do that. And you know, like even Yo-Yo Ma, there he is over there. He's the guy in blue. He feels like he's making mistakes all the time. So give yourself 7 freebies. Probably not even something that anyone else can hear or care about. And if it is, who cares? Who cares? And then after 7, I'm not counting them, but I'm like, if I get to like 7 in one page, I'm like, whoa. Keep it together. Then I'll just like totally laser focus and kind of put on like the cone of silence or something, and I'll just like hit my notes for the next couple minutes if I feel like I got to 7 mistakes too quickly. Okay, and then another piece of advice, which I'm sure you guys all do with your students, put yourself in a nervy situation. Play your whole, well, you guys are pianists. So for violinists, play your whole piece standing on one foot. Or do it in a squat. Have people throw stuffed animals at you while you play. I don't do that because it's COVID, but before COVID, I would get all my daughter's stuffed animals, and I would have my student play, and then my daughters would come in. We try not to like actually hit their violin, but and they had to play through their piece, and we just lob stuffed animals at them the whole time and see if we can get them to mess up. You can also do that with crumpled paper. But my daughters think that's great if they're like, oh, wow, we get to throw stuffed animals at Anthea's students today. Wake up at 3 a.m. and record your hardest part on your teacher's answering machine. I have my students do this. I'm like, I'm going to turn my ringer off, but when I wake up, I want to hear a 3 a.m. recording from you from this. I want the shift. I want to hear the shift 10 times. And even better if you can be standing on one foot on your bed while you do it. Obvious stuff. Play concerts for family, friends, church, retirement home, Zoom. So that, what I was talking about, like where Kevin had to play every day for 2 weeks for people, that's a great thing. That's Zoom is great for that. Grandma would be happy to wake up and hear her grandson every day for 2 weeks. nothing would make her happier if she could be the partner for that. You know what I mean? That's free babysitting right there. That's my section on nerves. Okay, let's see what else. Competition day, going to talk about that. Family perspective. Afterwards. Kevin already sounds amazing. Carrots and teeth. Okay, actually, can we talk about results and the next step? That's my section there. I could do this like every week for 2 months. This could be really fun. I'd be happy to do this. Results, accepting the good and the bad. I was gonna make a graph with like those circles, you know, and then the circles and they come together and they make a different color. I could not figure it out. I gave up on my material. I tried to do it for quite some time last night, but I just couldn't figure out those circles. Okay, this I think is the most important thing. Remember, the people you meet in competitions and auditions will be the people you know for your whole life. Whether they're the judges, your colleagues, or your accompanist, the award will be short-lived. But these other relationships can give back to you for your whole life. Future jobs, contacts, recommendations, collaborations. I can't even tell you those people who were in Society of American Musicians, like Samin Ganatra of the Pacifica String Quartet. You know what I mean? I met the Artemis Quartet because we had a competition. 20 years later, I win the job in the Artemis Quartet. And if I was a snooty, stuck-up, annoying person in that competition, do you think I would have won the job 20 years later? No. Okay. So this is important. Kids don't know this. They're freaking out. They're freaking out. They don't know what to say. We should practice that with them. Be kind. Be humble. Be gracious. And congratulate the winners with honesty. Let's say there's good news. Probably is not going to be good news. It's not going to be good news. But let's say by accident there is good news. It's a flip of the coin. Act humble and celebrate with family or friends. Don't celebrate on the stage like you just scored a touchdown. Don't do this, okay? So a 9-year-old or a 14-year-old boy might think that's a great idea to do a victory lap. Probably not the time to do it, but they don't know that, right? So it's good to talk to them about that, how to accept something graciously. If there are other winners, congratulate them. Thank the judges and ask for comments if they have time. Thank your teacher, parents, and accompanists. Think about this moment before it happens. And if you notice others teasing or making fun of a competitor, don't join in. Stay kind. Number 3, this is a really hard one. Look happy. It's not about you after the concert. It's not about your personal regrets for what you wish. I won Concert Artist Guild with my quartet when I was 22. And we sounded great. And the cellist was backstage and they just announced that we were the winners and we had to go out and play Janacek. She was backstage. She was in tears. She was like, we don't deserve this. We're not good enough. We don't deserve to win. I was like, what are you talking about? Be gracious. We don't need a crying winner saying you don't deserve it. It's not the time for your drama. Keep it together. Look happy. Show everyone that you are glad to be there. Sometimes we have an overwhelming feeling of regret. Work to overcome that instinct and remember that a lot of people worked very hard to make this event possible. It's not about you. It's about everyone. Bad news. Dong, dong, dong. Probably it's going to be bad news. Again, act humble. Always got to do that. Congratulate the winners. In advance, practice saying 3 nice things to the winners. Just practice them in so you don't say them for the first time, right? Shake their hands if it's okay, or whatever was happening with COVID. Ask the winners how they prepared for this. How did you get so good? You sound awesome. Wow. How are you so good? That's like the flip grid, like Chris writing to Kevin. You sound amazing. Wow. How did you do that? It's a good way to learn about the experience, and you might learn a new trick from that person who won. Even though who cares about winning? We don't care about C, right? Elaine, we don't care about C. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care about it. Talk about the loss with your friends, family, or your teacher. This helps deal with your feelings and reinforces your commitment to your instrument. I have a student who is Miss Teenage Montana, and she's a really good violinist. And she just competed for Miss Teen America, and she didn't get in the top 10. And she was just in tears yesterday. In tears. She couldn't even, she couldn't even like get closer to violin because there were so many boogers coming out. And she couldn't even have her lesson. She's like, and she's like so beautiful with the blonde hair and the extensions, and she weighs like 2 pounds, and she can do a one-legged push-up. And we had to talk the whole lesson about C, about who cares. I was like, who were your judges? She was like, there are a bunch of people who used to be in reality television programs. I'm like, Annika, tell me that matters, what they think about you. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to med school. Who cares what the reality television people think about you? My God, you can do a one-legged push-up. And you can play Wieniawski. She played Wieniawski for her talent. Unbelievable. We already talked about number 6. All successful people have lost many times. And just for a final thing, family perspective, help your child approach competitions in a healthy way. Talk to them during the A and B and C periods. And plan a fun activity or reward after the competition. When I won Society of American Musicians when I was 9, my parents didn't think I was going to win, or whenever. I felt like I was 9. Maybe I was 11. I don't know. I wore my first twirly dress. You know those ones that when you twirl, it goes completely out? I just love that. It was blue. And my parents said, if you win, you can have anything you want within reason. And so I won. And then I said, I want a bunny rabbit. And they were like, oh, no, no. And I said, you said I could. And it's within reason. Only cost like $15. And that bunny rabbit that I got because of that competition was like the best thing that ever happened to me. And I had a lifetime of bunnies, which is now guinea pigs because of my children, and the bunnies, you know, they eat the walls and stuff. But maybe we'll graduate to bunnies soon. But anyway, it has been a continuous, wonderful part of my life. And that's because my parents said that. And I think even if I had won or lost, I think the bunny was going to happen. Because I'd been slowly wearing down their resistance. Does anyone have any questions? Everyone can unmute if you want to. Landline.
Okay, I think there are no questions. Oh, Sean, do you have a question?
Oh, no. Thank you. I'm just
wanted to show your face and your support. That's great. Anthea, we are running out of time. Thank you so much for this very refreshing, entertaining, and human presentation. I really love that you were interactive. As you could see, we are not quite used to this, but I think that's the future to go, to bring in the audience. And you saw a little bit of the personality of Anthea whenever I saw her teaching, and it could be whatever level, that's how she is. And I find it so interesting that you really helped us channeling on the positives of doing a competition or an audition. Many times we are so focused on the outcome, and then the students get tense, we are getting tense, we are ambitious, and it's not about this, it's about A and B on her chart, and not so much about C. So I think that was very helpful. It was super interesting to hear all your stories. I second Amy, if you could send the handouts, that would be super helpful.
Sure.
Put your name down up there. We are happy to cite you, but I think that would be a valuable tool to do with our students in a performance class or even in lesson, just to talk about taking things as a great opportunity, being grateful and gracious. That was just wonderful. Yeah, so thank you so much for staying here. I know October, everyone is very busy, but competitions are starting. We are always under pressure. So thank you so much, Anthea, for joining us from Oregon.
Yeah.
Excellent.
pleasure.
It was really a riot. It was just terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine.
I bet you won every competition you've been in. So proud.
No,
of
I
you.
lost so many. I didn't get
Really?
Concertmaster Berlin Philharmonic, for example.
Come on, that's
For
a
example.
whole nother story.
Yeah.
I know about you. I know your mother. Listen, it was very good. I loved it. Terrific.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. I'll clean up these notes and send them to Yumi.
It was terrific.
Okay.
I'm so glad that we recorded this.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.